Okay, here's a question. I'm saving one question, which from the last time. We'll read it when Maharaj comes, but I'll begin with other questions. Sometimes good devotees complain or criticize other devotees due to what some I don't know what issue it is. Some I don't know. What is this? Gender? What? What? Genuine issue? Is it? Genuine. Genuine. Indian English. Accidentally that connect to us in the form of rumor, which affect one's consciousness. How to behave in face of such situation. Let me read it again. Try to put it. Sometimes good devotees complain or criticize other devotees due to some genuine issue. Accidentally that comes to us in the form of rumors which affect one's consciousness. How to behave or face such situation. Well, you don't need to hear. People may talk criticism of other devotees, but you don't need to listen to that criticism. It's not good for devotees to criticize other devotees. Rather, the business of devotees is to see the good in devotees. The first offense in chanting the holy name is to blaspheme the devotees who've dedicated their lives to holy name. Now somebody is in this movement, you may say, well, they've not really dedicated their life. But if they're engaging in the activities of Krishna consciousness, no matter how neophyte they may be, they should be recognized as devotees. And we should not make a business of criticizing them. Just like you may criticize someone for being dirty, but if they're in the shower, it's not very good to criticize them, right? They're taking bath. So in a few minutes, they'll be clean. The same way somebody may have some faults, but if they're here in the Krishna consciousness movement, and if they remain in the association of devotees, they continue with the practice of Krishna consciousness, then they will go on to become pure devotees. And if we criticize them now, then later on we will get reactions for criticizing them. So we should be very careful what we say about other people. And we should be careful what we hear about other devotees. Don't listen to that kind of criticism. If somebody is criticizing others, then you just simply have to say, excuse me, I have to go. You don't need to try to preach to them. You don't need to tell them that it's wrong to criticize others and so on. But don't hear it. Don't waste your time to listen to criticism, because it's not going to be good for us to hear. People will, so many people, they speak things, rumors, they speak criticisms, try to find fault with others. That's not good. It's just like the fly. The fly goes to the sower, and the bee goes to the honey. Take, sip pollen, the sweet. So be like a bee, don't be like the fly. Don't be like a crow, be like a swan. So avoid hearing criticism. That's my advice. Okay, Maharaj is here. Now, Maharaj, it turned out the last time we were giving questions, I'd only read the back part of the question. So now I'm going to read the front part to you. Very interesting, practical question. The question says that I, I had said, or one of us had said, that husband and wife should unite only to produce children. In today's world, a man can support a maximum of only 2 or 4 children. It means the child. It means it means that oh, it means they cannot combine more than 10 or 12 times in the entire lifetime. If a person is, if he's so much conditioned over his senses, why he would, why, 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 why he would marry and take so much trouble to maintain family? Better he become a brahmachari. But because he doesn't have control over his senses, he marries. So how to understand this situation?
Well, the person who has asked this question has also given the answer. That, well, you see, we have to understand that, first of all, we have to understand that these rules and regulations, they are for our benefit. It's not that they are like punishment. It's just that when our consciousness is polluted, we see things differently. So these, of course, I'm not a grihasta. I have no experience. I would suggest this person go to people who are married, who have been married successfully, and then you can find out from them how they deal with these problems. It's not a sannyas brahmachari problem, but I would just say I don't have any experience of what they are talking about, and therefore I would suggest that they go to established grihastas and place this question. They'll get a good advice, practical advice. With me, I'm just a wrong person. I may just give a theoretical advice. Is that okay? My advice is that people who have problems in marriage life or living as householders, they should consult Grihasta counselors. I'm a sannyas, so I don't know anything about that. I may give just scriptural advice, but you need practical advice.
Yeah, I had explained previously that there's low grade pleasure and high grade pleasure. You want pleasure, it's a very low type of pleasure from sense gratification. Like people think the pleasure of sex to be so wonderful. This is the same pleasure the pigs and the dogs are enjoying. It's not something so wonderful, but you write about it like it's something so wonderful. This is you're conditioned. You've got to purify this consciousness. You've got to understand that that is not the real pleasure in life. There is much higher grade pleasure. So, having a family it's a duty. It's a service to Krishna. It's not that you get married just for sex. If you marry like that, then your marriage will never work, will never be happy. That's why there's so much divorce today. You have to understand that married life is it's a service to live with a woman, take care of a family, raise children. It's a wonderful service which is done in God consciousness. But if we think of it as just simply some material pleasure to gratify the senses, then that's just ignorance. That's conditioning. It's the thinking of the dog. Okay, so previously I was speaking about I just a few minutes ago I was speaking about the importance of seeing good in others. So somebody has written a question about this. He said, "We hear many times that we should see good qualities in the Vaishnavas, but my problem is I have an offensive mentality towards Vaishnavas. So how to avoid offensive mentality towards the Vaishnavas? Can you give me some suggestions to help me in this regard?"
There is a problem in seeing because we see with our eyes, not with our heart. So when we see with our eyes, the bad qualities in others become glaring, they're just like light. But when you study people, including yourself, you'll realize that we all have good and bad about us, but we tend to see other people's bad qualities and not see ours. So, how do we increase the quality of appreciating the good qualities in others? Is by learning how to be a servant of all devotees. There are two things. There's what is called um, Siddha Pranal and Swarup. Siddha Pranal means the path of perfection, and Swarup means our original spiritual form. Sometimes people ask me that. Like you go to Radhakon, so many Babajis are giving Siddha Swarup. I mean, they are giving a Siddha Pranal, they are giving also Swarup. So some people think that this is reality, and Prabhupada didn't give us that, but it's really Prabhupada gave everything. So see, the path of perfection was given by Mahaprabhu. Tanara api sunichena taro api sahishna. Amanuna manadena kitaniya seto. That in order to advance in our chanting of the holy name, we have to become more tolerant than the tree, more. We have to be humble, mm, like blade of grass. Offer respect to others without expecting anything in return. And then in that way, we can continuously chant the holy name. That is uh, Siddha Pranal that Mahaprabhu gave. Why is that? Because your Swarup is Jivere Swarupere Krishnare Nityatos. You are an eternal servant of Krishna. So practicing Krishna consciousness is supposed to bring us to this point where we realize that we are servants. So but it begin, Krishna says, anyone who claims to be my devotee is not my devotee, but a person who claims to be a devotee of my devotees is my devotee. So in that way, when we serve devotees, we should have this in mind that we are servants. But because of false ego, we see so many bad qualities in others and overlook our bad qualities. That's a problem. Prabhupada exemplified this many times. There was one devotee in America He used to just lie on the passage where devotees were passing. So then the management complained to Prabhupada. There is this what they call lazy, crazy Peter. There's this crazy guy called Peter in our temple. He's like a bomb. He's not really together. Prabhupada said, "Can't you tolerate?" So they had to tolerate this story. And then many years later became a Sanskrit scholar. He was translating the books of the Goswamis. And he was known as Kushakrata Prabhu. So what they were seeing the other side of him. But Prabhupada said, you tolerate. So Mahaprabhu said the same thing, that we learn how to tolerate others, and we learn how to offer honor and respect to others. So if we take this verse, one of the acharyas, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said we should wear it just as we wear tulsi around our neck, because that can lead us to perfection. So that's the secret of how to avoid offenses towards the devotees. Of course, some people are impossible. I mean, some people are mentally sick, but still, we have to learn how to tolerate them. We have to practice this verse by Mahaprabhu because it leads to perfection. So, without practicing tolerance, humbleness, it becomes very difficult to overcome the tendency to see the faults in others. Each and every devotee will have something good about him or her. You just have to find that. There will be something good about everybody. We just have to learn how to find that. Otherwise, it's like, how can I say, that's how material world is working. Everyone is trying to climb the ladder, and some people are pulling him or her down the ladder. That's how material world is working. So if we bring this mentality in devotional service, it will always keep us down. But if we let go and let Krishna, then we will feel moving forward like a relentless river that is flowing towards the sea. It doesn't get up one day and ask itself, am I flowing to the right direction? The river knows I'm flowing towards the sea. So Krishna is like an ocean. In order for us to flow towards him, we have to be like that, not being branched. Avya Vishayatmika. Otherwise, faults are there in the material world. Just like Maharaj was explaining about the bee and the fly, that the fly is always looking for, something distasteful. Prabhupada always advised us to be like bees. Look for pollen, look for good things in others. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, next question. How can we assess the best way in which we can serve Srila Prabhupada's mission? Very nice question. Someone's thinking how to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission. How do we know what's the best way? Well, we have to consider our own ability. What are we able to do for Srila Prabhupada's mission? Some people are able to, you know, go and study and take PhDs in philosophy and Sanskrit and so on, and do work editing and writing books. Some other people, their service is in distributing books, or worshipping the deities, or just cooking for the deities. These are all equal in the eyes of Krishna. What's important is our attitude in performing the service. we want to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission, then just simply try to be a good devotee. Try to be a good example for others. Prabhupada wanted that the society would produce people of good character, of good behavior, of good standards in their living manners, and so on, that people would appreciate them and respect them. And so if you do like that, that is very nice. That is pleasing Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Maharaj.
You could read
Another question. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We hear, sorry, we hear that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to teach Vairagya Vidya and devotion. Please elaborate its purport. Can you please answer that? Mahaprabhu appeared to teach Vairagya Vidya and
Oh yeah, yeah. Please elaborate on this. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharta Eka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sharira Dari Kripambudir Yastva Maham Prapajye. This was a verse actually Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya composed 100 verses in glorification of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and this was one of the verses which was particularly appreciated by the devotees, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach these things: Vairagya, Vidya, and Bhakti Yoga. Vairagya is in detachment in relation to Krishna, right? Yukta Vairagya, not Falgu Vairagya, but actual renunciation, which is renunciation in relationship to Krishna, using everything in the service of Krishna. Rupa Goswami also teaches like Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Uchate, that actual renunciation is utilizing everything in the service of Krishna. We don't have to give up everything, but we have to change the consciousness that we're using everything for Krishna. So that's Vairagya. And Vidya, that is knowledge in relationship to Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, these things, we get the highest knowledge. Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vidya, the king of knowledge in Bhagavad Gita. Bhakti Yoga, devotional service. So it's based on these two things, Vairagya and Vidya. These things had been forgotten, and it was Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who revived, showed everyone the real path of bhakti, combining Vairagya and Vidya in relationship to Krishna. In this way we understand Vairagya and Vidya and Bhakti.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, and another question. Nice questions. How do we understand that some devotees have gone back home, back to Godhead, or not? How do we know if someone has gone back to Godhead or not? If a devotee who followed the instructions of a spiritual master at the time of leaving the body is not able to remember Krishna, what is the destination of that devotee?
This is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna asked about 20 questions. One of those questions come in the 6th chapter, verses 28-29, where he's asking Krishna what is the destination of a yogi who in the beginning engages in the practice but due to world-mindedness deviate from the path. Does he perish like a cloud up in the sky? And Krishna explained that for such a yogi, In his next life, he may be born in an aristocratic family or family of Brahmins so that he can continue with his previous devotional practices. So that's what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, a little advancement lost could never be, a little advancement gained can never be lost, right? Neha bikramana shosti. Can save him from the greatest danger. So we're doing devotional service. We go on from where we left off. According to how much advancement we've made, we'll go on from that in the next life. Somebody takes birth in a family of devotees. Very fortunate. All the children born in devotee families are great souls. They were endeavoring, but not fully perfect. Therefore, they come back in a devotee family. So we're very concerned for the welfare of the children in our Krishna consciousness movement. That they're very special souls because at a very early age they have taken spiritual life. It's very special. It means in their previous life they already had some contact with devotional service. So like that, they go on. Krishna also describes you practice a little bit but still not successful. You go to the higher planets, you enjoy great opulence there, and that way you satisfy whatever desires you have for sense gratification, and then you come back to this planet again and go on with the, you have an opportunity, you're born in a good family and you get an opportunity for more devotion. Okay, someone's asking if the opportunities allow us to go for full-time devotional service, but there's some, we still have some attachment to the material world that keeps on coming. Are we still able to do devotional service, or would it be better to avoid it? Is it practical if we still have material attachments to become a full-time devotee or not?
I think everybody is a full time devotee, whether you live outside or in a temple, because we are supposed to follow the instructions of a spiritual master. Those who are grihastas living outside, Prabhupada said you should have deities at home, cook prasadam, offer to the deities, preach in your neighborhood, and do some service in the nearby temple. So all devotees, whether in the temple or outside, they are full-time servants. If you are initiated devotee, because you follow all you're supposed to, follow all the rules and regulations, you are supposed to have service in the temple, service in the Namahata group. So that's full time. It's good as in the temple. In the temple, they do the same thing. They go out and preach the Namahatas. They cook for Krishna. You are cooking at home. If you do cook, you offer to Krishna. The same thing is going on at the temple. So, in in reality, no one is a half devotee or a part-time devotee. Every serious devotee, whether he lives in a temple or not a temple, is full-time devotee because he's fully practicing. He charges 16 rounds. Also, there is no half rounds for half devotees. So we are all full-time devotees. Just depends on service. Am I right? Yes, it's true. It doesn't matter where you are. Like we are here, we are full-time devotees. We are worshiping. We are doing our kata here, just as we do in temples or namahatas. The same thing.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada heard some criticism from devotees that they were saying, oh, these people, they don't live in the temple. Srila Prabhupada said, yeah, I never lived in the temple either. When I was a householder, before taking sannyasa, I never lived in the temple. So you have material attachment. Yeah, we all have material attachment. That's why we took birth in this world. Of course, we have material attachment. You can't think you're a pure devotee when you become a devotee. Just because you become a devotee, you don't have material attachment. We all have material attachment, but we're trying to regulate that and control that and purify that attachment in Krishna consciousness. So taking up devotional service is the way in which we do it. So you shouldn't think, oh, I'm not ready. We have material attachment, then there's all the more reason to become a devotee and to do devotional service. There's a question here based on a verse in Bhagavad Gita. From the purport of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada has written that we should try to follow the disciplic succession from Arjuna. So he wants to know, why is Arjuna not in the disciplic succession? How to understand?
Yeah, the disciplic succession that is given in the Bhagavad Gita is different from the disciplic succession of kings like Arjuna. So that's why Arjuna does not appear in that succession.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can explain further.
yeah. Arjuna he's a student. He didn't take disciples, as far as I know. Right. The list is that list of parampara. Those are the prominent spiritual masters. Prominent spiritual masters. Not every spiritual master is listed there. So Arjuna, Krishna used Arjuna to speak the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. But it doesn't mean that Arjuna has to become all. Prabhupada initiated so many disciples. They're not all considered in the disciplic six. We don't show their names. All right.
Another question. Hare Krishna and Dandavat Param Maharaj Ji. Question. Sometimes my mind desires some unwanted material things, and sometimes some unnecessary thoughts come. Although I don't desire or think about them consciously in my heart. Yes, this is everybody's problem. Krishna says, Tribir Gunamair Bhavair Episalvam Idam Jagat. That the whole material world is under the three modes of material nature. And Krishna says, because no one knows that he is Avayam, Param Avyayam, that I'm above the three modes of material nature and inexhaustible. So this is due to lack of Krishna consciousness. When the mind desires some unwanted material things, which we do not desire or think about, these things arises from the mind. There is what is named Patanjali. He explains that the mind is like a lake with clear water. Sometimes within the bottom of the lake, thoughts rises and disturbs the mind. So to gain the clarity of the mind, the suggestion is that we practice devotion. We practice any yoga is meant to clear the mind from these thoughts. Because these thoughts rises from Rajagun and Tamagun, ignorance and passion. So the practice of yoga, whether it be bhakti or ashtanga yoga, is meant to help us to raise our mind above passion and ignorance, come to sattva guna. Little bit sattva, like Krishna says, Vyavishayatmika buddhir ekeha kurunandana. That those who are on this path, O beloved son of the Kurus, they are resolute in purpose. And those who are not on this path, avyavishayatmika. Their intelligence is branched. So when intelligence is branched, it means that we are under the influence of the gunas, Raja and Tamagun. So we have to learn how to chant proper and practice devotional service proper, not chanting while on the phone, not chanting while watching Bollywood movies. We have to cut down on Bollywood and Hollywood. We have to cut down on so many things so that our chanting is clear. We have to hear with attention. There are four ways of hearing Bhagavatam or any kata. We can hear like, this is from Bhagavat Mahatmya, we can hear like a parrot, we can hear like chatak, we can hear like swan, and we can also hear like, who else is there? There's chatak, there's swan, fish, chatak, swan, and parrot. The parrot is always attentive. He is able also to repeat what he has heard. And then chatak does not hear anything, does not drink any water in any lake of material world. He only drinks from the cloud. So a good listener will always wait for Krishna Katha. He will not indulge in Bollywood or all these nonsense novels and all kind of things. He's like a chatak. Fish means undivided attention, drinking the nectar without blinking. And then there are four types of people who hear who are considered to be bad listeners. One listens like a bull, another person listens like a camel, another person may listen like Burunda bird, which is found in the Himalayas, according to Bhagavat Mahatma. I've never seen it. And then what other animal is used? There's Burunda, camel, bull, uh, which is the fourth one? Bad listener. Uh, anyway. So the Burunda, he listens, but he does not take instructions to heart. The bull, he listens, says that the bull will munch on sweet grapes, but also on pungent oil cakes. I don't know. In India, you see bulls eat everything, but in Africa, they only eat grass. He says that they eat good things, but they eat bad things also. And then the camel, he will bypass mango leaves and go to nimba leaves, which are bitter. So he will hear Bhagavatam or Krishna Katha and then go to Bollywood and go to watch cricket and so many other things. That's not good listening. It comes in and out on the other side. So in that way, our hearing does not really benefit us internally. So according to Bhagavad Mahatmya. So we have to change, or Prabhupada wrote in the Nectar of Instruction, that devotional service depends on the attitude of the performer. In the preface of Nectar of instruction. So our attitude has to improve in order for us to gain benefits in our practices.
Okay, thank you, Maharaj. Someone asks, how should we get rid of laziness? Sometimes after Mongolati, I feel tired, and sometimes I skip it. I'm also addicted to read novels and comics. Is there anything I do to minimize this? Yeah, take a spiritual master and have him stand over you with a stick. You have to control the mind. You have to become more serious. You need good association. Somebody who's not going to let you do these things. Right? Somebody who'll pull you by the ear, get you out of Maya.
Thank you, Maharaj. You need a heavy guru, not a soft guru, to get you out of Maya. Next question. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Every book reading is important. How can we read the books and understand the essence of the topics explained? We have to read under the guidance of the spiritual master. Nowadays, we cannot spend time with the spiritual master because they have so many disciples and they are preaching, they are traveling. Generally, in all days, the spiritual master lived in the ashram and then students came to hear from him. Our system in ISKCON, we have institutions like PIH in Vrindavan and Mayapur Institute and many other institutions within ISKCON where we can go and study the books systematically under the guidance of the teachers in those colleges. That's the best way of by which we can read the books and understand the essence of the topics explained. Otherwise, the spiritual master, he is one, and with so many duties, it may not be possible to be a teacher of every single person. But the spiritual master can make arrangement also. He can teach us, or if he can't teach us, he may suggest that you go to Mayapur Institute, take Bhakti Shastri, take Bhakti Vaibhava, etc.
Okay. Someone says, how can lust be overcome? It's a disturbance in my upliftment of spiritual progress. So this is answered in the Bhagavad Gita. You conquer lust by regulating the senses and cultivating spiritual knowledge. So by sense control, regulating the senses. Come and live in the Krishna conscious community. Then we have a very regulated program. It's very powerful. You take part in that program every day, you'll conquer over lust very quickly.
Actually, Prabhupada was asked a question by some new devotee about Mr. Lust. Said, I can't get Mr. Lust out of my life. Prabhupada said, you surrender to me. I will kick Mr. Lust or his father out of your life. You just take my instructions. So by surrendering to the spiritual master, we can conquer any enemy, any demon, Prabhupada said. Why? Because when we are initiated, we become the property of the spiritual master. That's why we get the name Dasi or Das. It means now we are servants. But within our mind, if we think we are still masters and the lords of our lives, and then there will be so many problems. Yes, we have to surrender to the mission of the spiritual master, and that way we will feel the shelter. And Mr. or any demon will never approach us.
Someone has asked, how many miles do we walk every day in parikrama? Not very many. If you go on Brajamanda parikrama, then you can walk much more. They walk 20 to 30 kilometers every day. Navadvip parikrama is very merciful, very short. How much walking we did today? 5 kilometers? Maybe. Nothing. If you lose your shoes in the dam, what does it mean? Means you were careless.
This is a Hirelas.
There was another question. Wait, one more. Nityananda means avaduta. What does Nityananda avaduta? What does avadut mean? Maharaj.
Abadut means someone who is on the transcendental platform. He's here, he can be here with us, but he does not conform to the standards and the rules of the society. Because his consciousness is transcendental. We see that also with Lord Krishna, that he didn't conform to many rules. So Lord Nityananda is a person of the transcendence, someone who is not concerned about the rules of this world. He's totally on the spiritual platform.
Yeah, he doesn't belong to any ashram. He's transcendental to the ashrams.